For the third time in 3 seasons, Washington State fans will have a different head coach on the sideline. It was Jake Dickert in 2024, Jimmy Rogers 2025, and it will be Kirby Moore in 2026. This was not a move that I had heard a lot about. It was not a name that I had seen getting discussed a whole heck of a lot. And I think that is reflective of the fact that Washington State is making a little bit of a gamble, but is also making a smart and calculated move. So Kirby Moore, for the last several years, has been the offensive coordinator at Missouri, and he has had a lot of success. Their offense has been excellent running the football this year. Brady Cook threw for over 5,000 yards and a bunch of touchdowns in 2 seasons under his tutelage for the 2023 and 24 seasons, and he does have ties to the West Coast as well. He was at Fresno State from 2017 to 2021 in various roles. He was a GA at Washington for 2 years. He was at the College of Idaho as the wide receivers coach, and he played at Boise State as a wide receiver. He's the younger brother, actually, of Kellen Moore, who I don't think I need to tell you who that is. At least I hope I don't. Current head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So he's got a family connection to rely on for how to be a head coach. And yeah, the Saints stink this year, but Kellen Moore's been around the block for a little bit. Kirby Moore is not very old. He is in his mid-30s, and this is the first time he will be a head coach in college football. He's going to go and take over a job with a fan base that I hope is not too apathetic about the program. They don't want to be. They want to be excited, uplifted, and enthralled with what the football product on the field actually is. And this year, I think they were until their head coach bolted for Iowa State, which is a bigger and better job because of the world that we live in here. So going into the new World Pac-12, you're going to have a new head coach who's there for the first time at Washington State and a new head coach who's there for the first time at Oregon State in Jamarcus Shepard. Now, the gamble for Washington State, when you consider the other names I saw getting thrown out there, like Rick Neuheisel or Chip Kelly or Brent Vigen, the head coach at Montana State, Kirby Moore has not been a head coach before, and he hasn't even really been a coordinator for all that long. 2022, he was the OC and quarterback coach at Fresno State after Kalen DeBoer left, and he was under Kalen DeBoer as the passing game coordinator and receivers coach from the 2020 to 21 seasons, but he's been the OC and quarterbacks coach. Well, he lost the quarterbacks coach title. Don't know exactly why for this season, but he spent 3 seasons as Missouri's play caller. That's a pretty fast ascension. So there's a gamble there. When you are at a school like Washington State that does not have a ton of money, that does not have a ton of margin for error because of that reality, it can be really risky to take on a first-time head coach. Oregon State just went through this with Trent Bray. Trent Bray was a first-time head coach. He had familiarity with the program, of course, because he'd been the defensive coordinator, and actually got off to a good start, and then it just collapsed, fell apart, and was a complete and utter disaster. That's what can happen when you've got a first-time head coach who's learning as he goes, and you're at a program that doesn't have superior resources to everybody that you're playing on your schedule each year. Even going to the New World Pac-12, that's the case. One of the reasons Jimmy Rogers left for Iowa State, he's going to get more money for himself and for his assistant pool. So Kirby Moore is a risk in that regard. The upside, though, is incredibly real. Because maybe you're getting this guy and he's an absolute steal. And because you're giving him his first head coaching opportunity, the likelihood that he will bounce after 1 year again, I think is incredibly low. Incredibly low. Yes, he's been a fast riser. He's worked under some great head coaches, got the pedigree. Kellen Moore's brother, sure. He might not be the Washington State head coach forever. That might unfortunately be the new reality for Oregon State and Washington State, is they just might not be. If they've made a couple of good hires here, and these two feel very similar, they're both offensive passing game guys in their background. Shepard was the wide receivers coach at a couple different spots. They both bring that youthful energy to being a head coach that can invigorate a fan base. But yeah, if they have a lot of success in 3 years' time, they might not be there. But when you're a first-time head coach, no one's hiring you after one good season. Best evidence of that is Fran Brown. Went to Syracuse, 2024, they won 10 games. Beat Miami, I think it was, in their bowl game, or was it Washington State? I think it was Washington State, actually. They beat Washington State in their bowl game, and they won 10 games. That's a huge deal at Syracuse. Okay, the Orange regressed this year because Kyle McCord didn't get another year of eligibility. Steve Angeli got hurt. It fell apart. They went 3-9. But Fran Brown, who came from the SEC, was on Georgia's staff, went and won 10 games in year one, and he didn't get hired in the coaching carousel. From that angle, I think Washington State is making a safe move. Because if you hire somebody like a Brent Vegan from Montana State, who I'm sure they consider because he's a really good coach, or Tim Polasek, I know he signed an extension in North Dakota State. Maybe he felt like you could have pulled him away. But that might have felt like Jimmy Rogers 2.0, where because he's been a head coach before and he's got a strong track record and might have been considered for Power 4 jobs anyway, if he comes in and has success, makes a name for himself, he could bounce after 1 year. I don't think there's any chance that both Jamarcus Shepard and Kirby Moore leave their respective posts after 1 year, even if they have success. Because amidst the craziest coaching carousel that I've ever covered here on the show, have you seen Kirby Moore's name? Did you see Jamarcus Shepard's name anywhere on those potential lists of targets? No, because the big-time programs are not going to hire a coach with that little experience because there are other options available. So these guys are in a position to build up their own brands, yes, and potentially leave one day, but that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen in 1 year. If you do what your job is as a university and as a fan base to support these head coaches, I think both will be there at least 2 years, probably 3 or more. And there are a lot of similarities between their career trajectories and taking their first head coaching jobs here. It's not the easiest situation to walk into. It's also not impossible. I think both jobs are better in the New World Pac-12 than they were relative to the rest of the schools they were competing against in the old Pac-12 when you had Oregon and USC and Washington and Utah to go up against. Well, your path to winning in this version of the conference is going to be significantly easier. So the risk, first-time head coaches, yep, there's always a roll of the dice. But the upside is these guys can't have an eye to their next job for at least several years. And I think that's what especially Washington State fans are really looking for, because they got burned by Jake Dickert and they got burned by Jimmy Rogers, and they want someone who will stick around. And I think that he's going to do that at least for a little while. Can't promise anything in the long term, but nobody was trying to hire Kirby Moore at the Power 4 level. Other Group of 5 coaches could come calling if he has success, but at that point, when you've given him his first head coaching job, I would hope, and you never know, you can never guarantee anything. I would hope and think that he has some sense of loyalty to Washington State and that he wouldn't make a lateral move. The only reason he'd do that is if he's not well supported. So that's what it comes down to now. So I'm really intrigued by the hire. I think it's good. There's some risk, but there's some serious upside as well. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.